Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So our episode today is dealing with a very serious subject. And so we usually pre-record our episodes and release them on a schedule. But with the murder of Charlie Kirk and all of the kind of reactions that have happened to that, we felt like it was very important to address this topic. And this is not political in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it's agnostic. This applies to all human beings. It doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter whether you're a particular race, a particular gender. This goes out to everyone. And we're talking today about learning how to stop hating people. So, not saying we don't understand why sometimes people hate other people. Totally understand how that emotion is generated, totally understand why some people hate other people, but we're here to tell you that it will wreck your life. And it wrecked Charlie Kirk's life. It wrecked the person who killed Charlie Kirk. They're going to be found and their life is over. And it's just an example of stuff that's going on. The problem with most people is it happens very slowly over time. It just kind of drains your resources and energy that are all spent focused on people you hate. And it's not a great approach. It's not good for them. It's even worse for the person who hates other people. And you need to get in touch with that internally and understand it internally so that you can work on changing it internally. And I get hate is a strong word, but I don't think it's wrong in the situation that we're dealing with here. So, the world we live in now, right, wrong, or indifferent, feeds off of division. And it's not a good place to be, but it's the truth. There's political differences, there's cultural differences. Heck, even in your own family, you could have people that hate each other. And again, not a good place to be. It's not healthy. It's not good for anyone. And we've got to figure out how to move past it. So we're going to give you examples and tips today on how to do that. So very important that we cover this topic and we all take it to heart. So I think the biggest thing for people to understand is that when you hate someone else, it doesn't punish or hurt them. It actually punishes and hurts you, the person who's doing the hating. And that's the reason it's so important to stop doing it. It's actually not for the other person. It's so that you can live a life of meaning and purpose to you. We're not saying you have to agree with everybody. We're not saying that you should just roll over and deny your beliefs. That's not at all what we're saying. But you've got to stop hating other people simply because they look different than you, they think different than you, they act different than you. Even if they're jerks to you, you should not hate them. It's not healthy. It's not good for you. It's going to wreck your life slowly over time if you do that. And so we want to talk about it today, especially in light of these terrible circumstances that happened out in Utah with Charlie Kirk. So let's just jump into it from there. Okay, we're going to give, again, 5 things. We're going to go through them now. So the first thing we've got to remember, and this is terribly important, and it applies to every single human being that walks the face of the earth, is there's not one person on the face of the earth that is all good or all bad. Just not true. So it's nice for our minds if we can put people into boxes. Good, evil, right, wrong, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, right? Human beings are way more complex than those labels. We like those labels because it's easy for us to comprehend and understand. But the reality is people are very different than those labels. And again, there is not a single person in this world who's all good or a single person in this world who is all bad. It's just not true. So psychologists talk about the fundamental attribution error, which means that we judge others harshly for mistakes, but we give ourselves grace because we make excuses because we know what we're thinking. Well, it turned out bad, but I didn't have bad intentions. I didn't mean it to turn out that way. So I'm not a bad person, but that other person is a bad person because of the actions they took or the things they said, but I'm not a bad person. So that's out of a study in the Journal of Psychology and Social Psychology. in 1977. Sorry, Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in 1977. Fundamental attribution error. Other people are bad and evil. I'm not bad and evil. When I make mistakes, they're just mistakes. When I have errors in judgment, they're just errors in judgment. I'm not coming from a bad place, but that other person is a bad and evil person. It's just not true. They're the same type of person you are. You just don't know what's going on in their head. You don't know the experiences that have led them to where they're at in life to make them think or act the way that they think and are acting. And they could be very wrong. They could be making bad decisions and doing bad things at the time you're making these judgments. That's not the argument here. The argument is you shouldn't hate that person simply because of one particular set of circumstances or actions. It's just not the right way to go. So, a petty example of this, a small example of this is you write off a coworker as a terrible person because of one rude comment they make, or you write off someone because they say something that you deem racist or that you deem offensive. And that's not a good place to be. I see lots of people celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, and it doesn't matter who the person is. So if let's flip it around and let's just say someone did the same thing to, I don't know, Nancy Pelosi, Rachel Maddow, pick a left-wing person here. I would be saying exactly the same thing. I wasn't anti-Charlie Kirk, but I certainly didn't watch his stuff a lot and hang on every word that he said. I knew who he was. And I appreciated the fact that he was willing to go intentionally have debates with people so that we could flesh out agreements and kind of get people to think about things from a 360-degree view. So I'm certainly not a Charlie Kirk fan. I'm way more of a fan now since this terrible thing happened to him and his family. But this guy was a husband. He was 31 years old. He had 2 young kids under the age of 5. Nobody deserves what happened to him. It doesn't matter what your political leanings are. It doesn't matter what your thoughts are. Nobody deserves to be shot in the throat and killed in front of their family. And that's what happened to him. It's terrible. I can't believe that there's people celebrating that. There's really something, you really need to get back in touch with your morality. You're really disconnected from your morality if you think it's okay to celebrate the death of another person. Doesn't matter who the person is. This is just a very public example that we can use to learn. And it's what we're trying to do. So instead, if you wind up in those situations, what you want to do is think about what is driving that behavior. And think about positive things like we just talked about, right? Like Charlie Kirk, he was a husband. He was a father. He cared deeply about his religion. He cared deeply about our country. He cared deeply about his family. He cared deeply about the people he disagreed with. Those are all good attributes. And we want to focus on those attributes in whoever it is that we hate for whatever reason we hate them. Maybe they did something awful and terrible to you, and you have a very good reason to hate them. It's still not what you want to do. It's still not going to get you where you want to be in life. It's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to provide you the closure or the growth that you're looking for. So instead of doing that, when you feel those feelings of hate, next time, write down 3 neutral or positive traits that they have. They're there. You just have to look for them. You're just choosing not to see them. I'm not saying they don't have bad traits. I'm not saying they don't deserve some level of justice or comeuppance or karma or whatever you want to call it. That's not our argument at all. But they have good things about them too. I don't care who it is. I don't care what they say, what they do. They actually have good things about them too, even if they've done terrible, reprehensible things. Even then. And we've got to learn to see those things in other people and stop hating them. Now, it's not going to erase the bad things. Just because you see good attributes doesn't mean that you have to ignore the bad attributes. That's not the case. But it will balance the picture and it will make it easier for you to process and get to know and understand where they're coming from. Maybe you can still disagree with it. That's fine. But hating someone is not good for you at all. And so we've got to stop doing it. So remember that. No one is all good and no one is all bad. Number 2, when you get to know people, it lowers your level of animosity. Plain and simple. This is what drives racism. This is what drives wars between countries. This is what drives, the Hatfield and McCoy feud, right? It's different families. They don't understand each other, so they hate each other, and they fight and think about all the lives that have been lost because of this simple thing. If people could just get to know each other a little bit, they would see that those people are just like them in many, many instances. They have families. They want good things for their families. They want to be left alone to live a life that's happy and productive and fulfilled. Just like you do. Just like you do. That's all they want at their core. And you want that too. Those are good places to start from so you can build relationships. And you're still going to have differences, and you can you can disagree without being disagreeable. You don't have to be vitriolic. You don't have to be caustic. You don't have to be aggressive. You can simply say, well, I see that different, and here's why. You could do it just like I just did it, unemotionally. And it's going to help if you get to know people. One of my favorite Abraham Lincoln quotes is, I really don't like that man. I must get to know him better. I try to follow that in my life. If someone really rubs me the wrong way or someone's being very aggressive towards me, I actually run towards it and try to get to know them a little bit better and say, hey, I wonder what's driving this. I wonder if I get to know this person, if I can figure out what their motivation is and see if we can come to common ground. And that works out for me way more often than it does not. Way more often than it does not. So, hate thrives in ignorance. That's what causes racism. That's what causes sexism. That's what causes many of the differences in the world. The less you know someone, the easier it is to demonize them. So Gordon Alpert's contact hypothesis proved that positive interaction reduces prejudice and hostility. This has been confirmed across racial, political, and social divides. Right? So look, I'm not a big Hillary Clinton fan. I'm certain she's got redeeming qualities. I'm sure she cares about her daughter very much. I'm sure she cares about America very much. I still don't think she's a very good person, but I don't hate her. Like, I disagree with her, and I don't think she's all that good of a person, but I don't hate her. Like, it's not a good place to be. And I'm sure if I got to know her a little bit, I could pick out more positive attributes. I probably still wouldn't like her. I probably still would disagree with her a lot, but I don't hate her. I don't understand how people can be consumed. People are that way towards President Obama as well. And then Trump. Like, they spent 8 years just hating Obama. For what? For what? It doesn't make sense. You've got to get to know people and judge them on who they are as people, not this patina that you see of their public persona. So even if you know what their politics are, you don't know why their politics are that way. Maybe there's a very compelling reason, a very compelling story behind why they think or feel the way they think or feel. So what does that look like in real life? So you assume because someone says, I'm a Republican. Oh, so you're a racist. Oh, so you're X. Oh, so you're Y. Or I'm a liberal. Oh, so you're a bleeding heart. Oh, you're X. Oh, you're Y. You don't know that about that person. You know one thing about that person, and you've made a bunch of assumptions based on that one thing. Could be true. Could not be true. You don't know. The best way to know is to get to know that person. So instead of making that judgment, why not ask questions? Why not get to know that person a little bit better? That's your action step here. That's your takeaway. Talk for 10 minutes this week with someone that you would normally talk to or you don't like or you disagree with. Don't debate them. Just ask them questions and listen. It's that basic. You can do that. You don't have to agree with what they say. You don't have to validate what they say. You don't have to change your mind. But getting to know that person a little bit, ask them a question that has nothing to do with the things you disagree with them about. Ask them about their family. Ask them about their hobbies. Ask them about their upbringing. Maybe you'll learn some things that'll help you understand what drives that person a little bit better. It's a lot better than sitting and hating them because they said one thing one time, or they proclaim themselves a Republican or a Democrat or a progressive or a liberal or blah, 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 whatever. Insert polar opposites here. It doesn't matter. We've got to get away from this cycle of hate, and we've got to learn to get along with each other and understand each other better. We're not always going to agree. That's fine. That's what our country was built on. Our country was built on healthy and vigorous disagreement, but it was not built on killing our enemies because they have different political ideas than we do. We've got to get away from that. There's been too much of it, and it's coming from all sides. This is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. It's not a progressive issue. It's not a conservative issue. It's an issue across the board, and we've got to do a better job or we're not going to wind up in a good spot as a country. So that's your homework assignment here. Find someone that you disagree with. fundamentally on a topic and spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes talking to them this week. Unemotional, non-confrontational, just get to know them a little bit. That's the deal. Okay, and number 3 here, and this seems like it should be pretty straightforward, but it does not appear to be, so we're going to say it out loud and make sure everyone hears it. Everyone is human and deserves empathy. It's that simple. Everyone, every single person walking the face of the earth is a human being, and they deserve your empathy. I'm not saying sympathy. I'm saying empathy. Think about their life and what they've gone through to get to where they're at. That's not going to hurt you to do those things. You don't have to validate where they're at. You don't have to validate their ideas. Just understand what's driving it. Like I've been Irish male my whole life. That's the only existence I know. I don't know what it's like to be whatever, an Asian man or black female or whatever. I don't know. So when I meet people who are of those persuasions, I just ask questions and listen. Tell me how that is. That must have been hard. How did you feel about that? Like, those are easy questions. People will tell you all about their experiences. They can't wait. And it's important to understand your empathy doesn't mean agreement. That's not the point. It means recognizing someone else's viewpoint or experiences are real, and they're as real as yours. They've lived a life and had experiences just like you've lived a life and have experiences. You want people to understand and respect your experiences. You do the same for them. And I don't care if they don't reciprocate. If you want to be a leader, if you want to live a purposeful life, if you want to make a difference in the world, you should behave the way you know you should behave, regardless of how other people treat you. Now, I get it. You got to be safe and protect yourself. There's an old saying that says, just because you wouldn't eat the lion doesn't mean the lion wouldn't eat you. So we're not saying expose yourself to dangerous risk. That's not the point. But you can understand what's driving someone, or at least try to understand what's driving someone, and you're going to wind up in a much better spot. Look, there's neuroscience to back this up too. So neuroscience shows us that when we see others as like us, our brain's empathy circuits activate, reducing anger. That's in Nature Neuroscience. That was published in 2013. But, that's what sports does. If you are pick a pro sports team here, the Kansas City Chiefs or the Seattle Mariners or the Miami Heat, doesn't matter. You can bond with other fans of that team regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, regardless of your economic status. If you're a fan of the same team, you have something in common with that person, and you're more likely to be welcoming to them, right? That's what the neuroscience information is telling us. We view the others as like us. We have that in common with them, and our brain's empathy circuits activate. We're more reasonable towards that person. We give them more slack. We're more willing to listen to what they have to say. And so that's the approach we want to take. We don't want to label someone as stupid or evil because they have a different viewpoint than we do. And those are opinions. You can change your opinions and you can reserve your opinions. You don't have to offer an opinion on everything. Like, you're not required to. I don't know why everyone thinks they have to react to stuff. You don't have to react to stuff. You're not required to. Instead of labeling someone when you see a behavior that doesn't make sense to you or you disagree with, why not ask, what's driving that behavior? What do I think is driving that behavior? If you can understand what's driving that behavior, you might be able to help that person get to a better spot. You might still disagree with them. They might not change. They might not be ready to get to a better spot. I don't know. But it's certainly a better approach than labeling them immediately and discarding them as a person. And there's way too much of that. I've seen so much. If you do X, just unfriend me. If you do X, don't ever talk to me again. And that's coming from both sides, and it's not a good approach. I don't like to get to a point where someone says, don't ever talk to me again, or I say to someone, don't ever talk to me again. Now, with that said, sometimes you work through things with people. You can't get to a good spot and you agree to mutually part ways, and that's okay. But it shouldn't be because you've made rash judgments and you don't really know all the details and you just decided that they're evil or they're stupid or they're whatever. That's not a good place to be. So the takeaway here is when you do catch yourself labeling someone negatively, just take a beat, take a pause, replace the label with a question about what's underneath their behavior. Just start there. Try to understand people better instead of instantly hating them and instantly judging them and instantly labeling them. You'll see a huge improvement in your relationships and your life if you just take that one step. Okay. Number 4, and you're not going to like this one, but it's the absolute truth. Hate is a mirror of your inner state. So many times we hate the traits we see in other people because they remind us of the very things we don't like about ourselves. And it's a lot easier to project that hate onto someone else who is exhibiting those behaviors and those thought processes that we know we have and don't like than it is to hate ourselves. And that's why we do it. It just reminds us of the televangelist. Jimmy Swaggart was a televangelist in the 80s, and he railed against, sinful life of drinking and prostitution and drugs. And he was caught in a hotel room with a hooker with drugs and alcohol. So this is the old Shakespeare, me doth think he protests too much. It's she in the original Shakespeare. But when someone is outspoken against a particular thing without a good reason for it, without explaining their rationale, there's probably something inside them that they don't like, and they're projecting that on to someone else. We say it a lot on this channel that if someone doesn't like you, that's their problem. And they're more likely unhappy with themselves than they are with you. Somehow you've just created a scenario or given off a vibe that manifests with them and gives them a good target to project this unhappiness and this discomfort out onto someone else to get it out of them. So Carl Jung's shadow theory suggests we project our own insecurities outward. So Carl Jung, famous psychologist, one of the fathers of modern psychology, shadow theory suggests what our insecurities are inside, we project those outward. We look for those. That's why people who would lie to you and cheat on you are untrusting. Because they would do it to you. Why wouldn't you do it to them? Right? That's how they think. So it's very straightforward on how that works. And there's tons of research that confirms that projection is a defense mechanism because we don't like to face. By the way, it's in the Journal of Personality in 1999. But we don't like to face all those shitty things about ourselves, so we project them outward. If I hate that guy and I spend a bunch of time calling out why that guy is such a dirtbag, I don't have to deal with the fact that I act like a dirtbag in certain situations, and I don't like that about myself. Right? So a real life example of this, and we see this all the time, and this is like an epidemic now that people can just whip out a phone, record their stream of consciousness, and post it on the internet. Exploding with hate at someone who brags too much. Because deep down, you wish you felt more confident. Exploding with hate at someone who has a different viewpoint than you. Because deep down, you're insecure about your own viewpoint or your own whatever. Femininity, masculinity, social status, financial status. Doesn't matter what it is. You're insecure and you project that insecurity outward and hate people that exhibit the opposite behavior, the one you wish you had. You're jealous of them and you project that hate outward. And it's not a good place to be. You just got to quit doing it. Instead, you have to recognize, just like we talked about, that reaction is actually about you, not them. So the action item here is to write down thoughts and ideas about one person you dislike. And then ask yourself, what do they reflect about me that I need to work on? Okay? So this is for people you hate, not people you disagree with. It's fine to disagree with people. I disagree with people. There's lots of people who have thoughts and ideas that I think are totally wrong. Socialism is one of them, right? History is littered with hundreds of examples of socialism being tried and failing. There's literally not a single example of socialism being tried and being successful. It always ends the same way. It ends with bread lines. It ends with without products on the shelf. It ends with a tiny group of people in position of power and authority over a much larger group of other people. That's how it always ends. You don't agree with me? That's just fine. Show me the example where that hasn't taken place. Just show me one. And I'll listen to the argument about socialism. So I disagree with that, but I don't hate people who agree with socialism. I don't think their thought process is good. I don't think they're looking at evidence. I think they're reacting out of emotion because the ideas and concepts behind socialism sound fucking awesome. Who wouldn't want everything to be good for everybody? Who wouldn't want everyone to have a good life? Who wouldn't want everyone to make it and everyone help everyone out? Totally got it. But I live in the real world and that's not how it works. I work really hard. I spend a lot of time doing the things that I do, and I'm very committed to them. And do I have some advantages? Sure, I have some advantages. I also had some disadvantages. It is what it is. But my point there is people that don't want to commit and work as hard as I do don't deserve the same outcome that I do. Just like I don't deserve the same outcome that somebody who works harder or is committed to something that I'm not working hard at or committing to. I don't deserve the same outcome. I shouldn't be a virtuoso piano player because I don't practice the piano. I'm not jealous of the virtuoso piano player. I find it amazing what they've accomplished with their time and effort and mastery of that skill. But I don't deserve the same outcome. Well, why would I get that? Right? And so that hate that we project outward is almost always our own insecurities being projected out into the real world. So when, again, the journal idea here is pick someone that you really dislike and write down, what is it about them that calls out something about me that I don't like? Because that's what's really happening there. You got to, if you're going to deal with it, you got to identify that. You got to figure out how to get right with it in your head. So, and then number 5, and this is just like our conversation a few minutes ago on socialism, love and friendship triumph over hate every single time. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's ugly. Sometimes a lot of people lose their lives in the process. But hatred is exhausting and it's a fire, and fire consumes. When it runs out of fuel, it dies. Connection is energizing. It's like fission. It's like energy. It's like heat. And that's different than fire. So what we want is to align ourselves with the things that create abundance, the things that create collaboration, the things that create meaning and purpose in the world. And hate does not do that. Never. Not once has it ever done that. There was a study done by the Harvard Adult Development Group, the longest study on happiness ever. And they took, it's like 80 years long. They took a group, I think it was about 3,000 people, and they followed them for 80 years and said, how did their lives turn out? And you know what? By far the biggest predictor of a great life was strong relationships. Not money, not status, not anything else. Strong relationships are the key to joy and longevity. Like, it's not rocket science, but that's not where we are as a country. There's too many people that are hating too many other people, and it's got to stop. It's just got to stop. We can't sit idly by anymore and allow all the school shootings that are happening in the name of whatever that particular person, their grievance was with society. We can't allow these grifting groups that try to raise money off of division and hatred to do. And that, again, this is happening across both sides of the aisle. It's happening across multiple sectors of our society. It's not aimed at any one particular group. Too many people do it. Create division, create hatred, make money off of solving the problem that you created, right? So if you go around setting fires and then put those fires out, you're not a fireman, you're an arsonist. And that's what's happening in a lot of instances. We've got to quit rewarding the people that are starting and putting out their own fires. It's not going to work. So a bad example, bad behavior, would be holding a grudge for years and staying stuck in bitterness. That is the equivalent of drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die because you drank poison. Nope, you're going to die if you drink poison. It's not going to do a goddamn thing to your enemy. And that's exactly what is going on in many segments of our society. Instead, we want to choose to forgive or extend kindness. I know it sounds counterintuitive, and I know you might not want to do it, but I'm telling you, if you want a better life, if you want to be happy, if you want to be fulfilled, if you want to move forward and grow, you have to learn to forgive other people and move forward. I'm not saying forget. I'm not saying that you should forget what they did or forget how it made you feel, but you got to forgive them. That's not for them. You're not forgiving them for their sake. You're forgiving them for your sake. You're giving yourself the gift of forgiveness. Doesn't even matter if they agree. Over time, it will change the way you think. It'll change the way they think, and it will take you to a better spot. That's exactly what Martin Luther King preached and led during the civil rights riots movement in the 50s and 60s. Doesn't matter how much they hate us. Doesn't matter how much they attack us. We're going to peacefully resist. We're going to peacefully protest. And he changed the world because of it. He's a great example. Martin Luther King was a great man as it came to those things. He was also unfaithful to his wife. Nobody's all good and all bad. I'm not trying to disparage him by saying that. It's pretty well known that he was unfaithful to his wife. He also did great things. He did both of those things. He literally led a movement in our country that was long overdue to stop discriminating against people simply because of the amount of melanin in their skin. He was a great man for doing that, but it doesn't mean he was perfect. He had his flaws like anyone else does. So the step here is start burying some hatchets, start bending some fences. Reach out to someone you've got a conflict with. Don't debate. Don't argue. Just express goodwill. Hey, I was thinking about you. It's been too long. I really don't remember how things wound up the way they did, but I'm sorry that they did. Let's move forward. Give him a text. Give him a call. Give him a thank you. Plant a seed. See if the tree grows. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But you'll feel better about doing it. And you'll feel better in your life if you learn to forgive other people. All right? So the whole point here, guys, is that hating others doesn't change them. It changes you. That's the problem. You are doing this to yourself. And you're creating terrible things in your life when you're hating other people. And it's just got to stop. It's so unproductive. It's so not useful. It's one of the biggest problems in our society. And we just very publicly witnessed a guy executed in front of 3,000 people. I mean, if you have not watched the videotape of Charlie Kirk being shot, you should watch it because it's brutal. It is gruesome. It is visceral. I mean, he gets shot in the neck and literally blood explodes out the left side of his neck and he slumps over. Like he's talking 1 minute and the next minute he's fucking dead. That's a person. And again, this isn't about Charlie Kirk, whether we liked or didn't like Charlie Kirk. Nobody deserves what happened to him. Just like those two people in Minnesota, the two political figures where someone knocked on their door and shot them through their front door. They didn't deserve that. Someone tried to kill the governor of Pennsylvania by setting his house on fire. He didn't deserve that. That's not the way to treat people. Someone tried to shoot President Trump. That's not the way to do it. That's not the way to treat people. We've got to stop endorsing these things and allowing people to get to that point where they think those actions are okay. They've lost touch with humanity. It's not a gun problem. It's not a mental health. Well, it's kind of a mental health problem, but it's the mental health problem is we've allowed people to get to that point and we can fix it. We can fix it. We don't need medical professionals in some of these instances. A lot of it can just be reaching out to people, making sure they know that they're part of the group. They're part of society, that they matter. Even if we disagree with them, they still matter. And we can do that. How do we do it? Let's go through the framework again. Remember, no one is all good or all bad. If you idolize someone, that's great. Just know they got flaws. Nobody's perfect. And if you really dislike someone, just know that there's something under there that's good and decent. Everyone, blanket statement, global statement. I'll make that one. Nobody's all good. Nobody's all bad. That's the truth. Get to know people before you judge them. You might get to know them and say, hey, I was right. This person's a real dirtbag. Okay. At least now you know, but you made that judgment based on knowing them as a person, not because of their political affiliation, not because of their race or their gender or their income level or where they grew up. Right? Doesn't work. Get to know people before you make judgments about them. Show empathy for shared humanity. All of us are experiencing the same things. We want good relationships. We want our kids to be happy. We want our kids to be successful. We want the people close to us to experience good things in life. All of us want that. Doesn't matter if you're from Botswana or Laos or the United States or India, or it doesn't matter. All of us want the same things. We may have different viewpoints on how we get there, and our cultures may dictate that we take different approaches to make those things happen. And our cultures may dictate that we want different things to make us happy, and those are all fine. Get to know and understand those things. Don't judge people for them. Just get to know them so that you can show empathy. That's the whole point. Use hate as a mirror. If you hate something, there's something, it's telling you something about yourself. Don't look outward, look inward. You're the one that needs to reflect. You're the one that needs to change. You're the one that needs to figure it out, not the other person. It's on you. So use hate as a mirror so you can work on your own imperfections and your own insecurities, because that's what it's actually telling you. And then last, you've always got to choose love and friendship because it outlasts hate every single time. That's where we want to be as a society. We just want to get along with each other and all of us move towards a good place. And that's different paces, different destinations, different ideas for different people. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And if someone disagrees with you, that's fine too. Remember, you can disagree without being disagreeable. You don't have to be a fucking asshole just because you disagree with someone. It's okay to just say, well, I see that different. You don't have to get in a big fight. You don't have to label them. You don't have to judge them. So quit doing it. We've just got to quit doing it. This is one of those seminal moments in politics. I was talking to my wife about it. And to me, it's very similar to when Martin Luther King Jr. or Bobby Kennedy were assassinated. And I leave John F. Kennedy out because he was a sitting president of the United States. That's an entirely different situation. But Medgar Evers was another leader who was assassinated for his beliefs, civil rights leader. This is one of those seminal moments, and it's a good time for us to reflect and say, hey, we got to get better. We've got to help our neighbor get better. We got to help the people around us get better. And the only way to do that is to do the work, to take a hard look at ourselves and our approach and the way we think, and to stop hating other people. We just got to quit doing it. It's not useful at all. So it's got to stop. So look, guys, that's the episode for today. James puts it up over here every day. Head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All of our podcast episodes are there. Links to all social media accounts are there. We publish a newsletter every weekday. You can subscribe to there. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you consume it on. Make sure you catch our next episode. We're going to keep giving you great tips on how to live a meaningful and purposeful life. We keep finding great guests that will do the same thing by sharing their experiences with you. You don't want to miss it. So make sure you catch our next episode. We'll see you there.